Every now and then a manufacturer brings out a new vehicle that's not just a new model, but a power move that makes other manufacturers start to worry and build up a sweat. Today we'll be taking a look at one of those vehicles. What's happening, people? It is Bobby here. It is the weekend. We are back in the garage, and that can only mean one thing. It is time for another review. This time we have the brand new GPX 125 from SYM. Now, I remember seeing this being whispered of around the internet around about a year ago now, and I couldn't wait to get my hands on one. And in this review, we are going to be talking about why I think this is a very special scooter indeed, and why I think lots of you are going to be rushing out to the dealers to have a look and place an order on one of these bad boys. But before we do anything else, let's do the most important part and the most fun part and get it out on the road and see what it rides like. So out on the road, first impressions are very good. The switchgear feels incredibly positive and good quality. The seating position is very pleasant, no complaints there at all. Do sit slightly more forward than I would normally like, but you can also position yourself slightly further back on the seat, albeit you'll be at a slightly higher angle. The performance, very impressive for a 125cc machine. It keeps up with traffic well, whether that be in built up areas, out in the sticks, or even on slightly faster roads, and cornering ability seems incredibly confidence inspiring. No complaints about this whatsoever so far. While I was out on the test ride, I ended up tagging along with these guys for a short portion of the ride, and it raised a valid point. Obviously, if these guys wanted to, they could put the hoof down and leave me for dead. But the fact is, even if you've got a much bigger bike than a 125, most of the time you'll be doing under 65 miles per hour anyway if you're out on a leisurely ride in the countryside. So as long as you've got a relatively high performance 125, you can have just as much fun as an afternoon as someone on a much bigger machine. Okay, that is the test ride over and done with, and phenomenal. Best word to describe it. This is the best 125cc 4-stroke scooter I've ridden this year, without a doubt. Performance wise, handling wise, equipment wise, feature wise, everything about it impressed me. I couldn't say a bad word about this if I wanted to. Trying to have a think, if I really wanted to be picky. I don't like this cover on the exhaust. It could have had a slightly nicer exhaust, but let's face it, to anyone who's really that bothered, there's 1,000,001 different aftermarket exhaust options you can pop on. Yeah, great little bike. Handling wise, because it's got the larger wheels, because it's got the longer wheelbase, it takes all the bumps and potholes and speed bumps in its stride. Not a single problem there whatsoever. You can really lean it into the corners as well, which is quite surprising on a scooter, because a lot of the time you have ground clearance issues on a scooter if you try and lean them too far, but not the case with this one, and it really enjoys being pushed into those corners too. Performance wise, I was able to see 65 miles per hour. Now, I've got a feeling once the engine's bedded in, and providing you run it in correctly, then this could easily be a 70-mile-an-hour scooter. And there's always loads of little tweaks you can make when it comes to the transmission, variators, different size roller weights and whatnot. So yeah, totally impressed. As I say, not a bad word I can say about it really. Before I forget, make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video, because we're going to be doing a little giveaway. It's not a free bike, so don't get too excited. It's only a little giveaway, but it's still quite cool. So we discussed performance earlier on, and I mentioned I was able to get 65 miles per hour, and I suspect it will be capable of doing 70 once everything's bedded in and the engine's a bit looser. Now, the reason that this scooter performs so well in both the acceleration and the top end department is down to the fact that it is a liquid cooled motor, and behind this grille here, that's where we have the radiator, which helps keep everything cool. It's just a fact that liquid cooled motors tend to perform that little bit better than their air cooled equivalent.
Yes, science, bitch!
One point worth mentioning is a lot of you who are looking at the GPX will probably also be considering its other two main rivals, the Honda PCX and the Yamaha NMAX. Now, both of those put out less power than the GPX, so that is certainly something that would sway me towards this as opposed to those other two I just mentioned. Okay, let's have a closer look at all these specs and features on the GPX. Now, there are quite a few, so you'll have to bear with me, and I'll start off by pointing out a few of the standout features that really stand out to myself. Starting off at the front end here, those headlights and that front end is bang on. I love the styling and look of that front end. Incredibly aggressive, incredibly stylish. In fact, the headlights remind me very much of the latest range of Kawasaki sports bikes. If you have a look over at some of those, you'll see the similarity. So yeah, SYM have really nailed it in that department. Moving across slightly, we have the front indicators. They are a flush fit with a smoked lens, so when they're off they look quite subtle and stylish, and when they're on, because they're LED, they're incredibly bright. So mated the indicators with the headlights, if any driver claims they didn't see you, you need to issue them a brief dry slap, because they cannot argue they can't see you on this bike. The headlights are bright as anything, the indicators are bright as anything, and they look on point. Moving up again slightly, I do like the dash, but we'll discuss that in a bit more detail later. The handlebars, now this is a point I really do like on this bike. Most scooters, as you'll be aware, have a big plastic covering and your speedo is generally sort of built into it, and you can't actually see the bars themselves, whereas the GPX has a more motorcycle style handlebar. The reason I like that is twofold. A, it opens up the scope to put in some custom bars on there, and I have a feeling this is going to be popular with the customizers. In fairness, the custom scooter scene has somewhat died off over recent years, but there is still a subculture out there that do it, and this gives you the prime opportunity to put a nice set of rental bars in place. The other reason I like these bars is from a practicality standpoint. Normally on a scooter, as I say, because it's all enclosed in plastic, you struggle to find somewhere to mount your sat-nav or your GPS speedo or whatever it is you might want to mount to your bars. Because these are more traditional motorcycle bars, you've got ample space to mount your phone holder, which will be an appeal to people like myself, but I can also see it appealing to the delivery riders out there. If you're riding your scooter every day and it's earning you a living, why not have a scooter that's got a few more mod cons, a few creature comforts? You know, it's your workhorse at the end of the day. And you need your phone mounted to your bars, not only just for your sat nav, but so you can see them delivery orders coming in, or your next McDonald's order, whatever it may be. So yeah, I do like the bars. One of the other features I do like as well, this is a bit of a silly one to be fair, but it's still a feature I like, is the pillion foot pegs. Now, some of you may be looking, what pillion foot pegs? And that's because they're quite well hidden. They are indeed just down here. Now, I don't just like them because they're quite well designed and hidden, but they look like a little pair of wings when they fold down, you know, a bit like a jet fighter, yeah. As I said, it was quite silly, but I do like those. So yeah, that's a few of the standout features that I really like personally. Let's have a more in-depth look at all the other bits and pieces that give you this great overall package. The GPX features keyless ignition, which is quite handy and saves you having to play around in your pocket trying to find your keys. And you activate the bike using a simple key fob. The ignition switch also has a trick feature of flashing blue whenever you activate or deactivate the scooter. Part of the keyless ignition setup is also a built-in motion sensitive alarm. Once activated, it will give you a warning first off if someone starts to interfere, and if they continue to do so, a continuous alarm will sound. With it being a keyless ignition, I can imagine a few of you wondering, well, what if my key fob battery dies? Well, SYM have thought about that, and inside the fob you have this traditional key. You open up this little flap and pop the key in, and you have a traditional ignition setup. We have briefly touched on the headlight already, but worth mentioning, it is a fully LED unit. The side light and the main headlamp unit is fully LED, as are the indicators and the rear lamp. They are the latest technology in LED, so they give off a very crisp, clean light and are very visible to other road users around you. The dash is a fully digital affair and gives you all the information you could require. Obviously you have your speed, a rev gauge, a fuel gauge. It also tells you the time, a battery gauge, and it will give you your service indicator and trip. Worth mentioning that this video doesn't really do the dash justice. It looks a lot crisper in real life, but this video seems to make it look somewhat blurry. I do get the vibes of the old Mark II Astra GTE 16 valve, one of the first ever cars to come with a digital dashboard. Probably showing my age a bit there, but there's certainly some similarities between the two. Suspension wise, we see the usual telescopic front forks. Flipping over to the rear, we see a pair of adjustable shock absorbers. Braking wise, we have this rather impressive 260mm wavy front disc with twin pot caliper. It is also supported by a CBS braking system. Over on the rear we see another hydraulic disc, this time 240mm, supported by a single piston caliper. While on the subject of brakes, braking performance is one of the areas where the SYM GPX really impressed me. The under-seat compartment is accessed via a switch on the ignition. Under here you will find a engine kill switch, which is another added security feature that SYM like to add to most of their vehicles. When this is activated, no matter if you have the key or not, the engine won't start. And you can also fit a full face helmet under the seat. There is also a cubby hole up front, which is where the USB charger is located for you to charge any USB devices. This is also a nice little soft touch cubby hole, so it's got a nice feel to it when you open and close it. At the start of this video, we mentioned we were going to be doing a little giveaway, and here it is. You stand to win one of these fabulous SYM wall flags. Now, if you're an existing SYM owner, a fan of the brand, perhaps you're going to become a SYM owner, this is a great addition to your workshop wall, your garage wall, the side passage, or even your bedroom or lounge if you're that way inclined. But either way, it's a lovely little prize, even if you're just an automotive memorabilia collector. These are normally used at SYM events and shows where SYM are showcasing their products or displayed in dealerships. I keep saying SYM, I should say SYM, that is the correct way to pronounce it. But either way, I digress. To win one of these, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and leave us a comment down below saying what it is you like about the GPX 125. It could be a particular feature you like, it could be why you like the overall package. Either way, drop that comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and we will pick 10 winners at random to win one of these wonderful SYM wall flags. Okay, that pretty much brings us to the end of another video. Hopefully you've enjoyed this and you've got some good information out of it and helped you to make a more educated choice on your next scooter purchase. If you have enjoyed the video, as always, please do drop a like, leave a comment down below. I do enjoy reading those and we'll get back to you ASAP. Perhaps there's something I've not covered that you would like an answer to, and I will aim to get back to you as soon as possible. If you could subscribe to the channel, I will be eternally grateful, and if you do subscribe to the channel and I ever see you in a pub, I will buy you a beer. The chance of that happening is relatively remote, so I don't think I'll have to spend a fortune on beer. Could backfire on me, but I think I'll be alright. Either way, as always, peace and pistons.